I'll just do computer, and I'll upload it whenever. Okay. All right. So, welcome everyone. We're talking today about work and family and life balance. I call it work-life balance hacks. Can you see my screen already?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if it turned off. Okay. So, thank you for joining us. So today I just wanted to talk about, Caroline wants to introduce me, I think.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, I started with
No. So yeah, we're glad to have Erin Willder with us today. I'm Caroline up in the top of the screen here. And I'm the operations manager of LDSPMA. And yeah, we're really excited to have Erin speak to us today and open the conversation with us. She is the current communications director for LDSPMA, and she has done so much for this organization that most members won't even know. So we on the board are very, very glad, very lucky to have Erin with us.
Thanks.
And she's a very talented designer and editor and has been freelancing for 23 years. So she, is an expert on balancing work and life. She's also taught at BYU as an editing and design professor. And did I miss anything, Erin?
Doesn't matter. It's all good.
Yeah. Thanks for having us, and you can add anything if you like.
No, I'm going to try not to talk about myself too much, but it's hard not to with this topic. Thank you so much. So as I said, we're talking about work-life balance, and I'm going to go ahead and try to get into full presentation mode. Sorry, this is the first time I've done this online.
Still in your system, so no worries. For all of us, yeah.
So this is where we're going today. I just kind of went with a pretty simple layout because I really wanted to get your ideas. And the very first thing I wanted to talk about, when you work at home, I think it's really important to kind of sort yourself out first. I like to say oxygen to the mother first, or if you're the father, that applies as well. If you have many, many people that you're taking care of, and that includes clients, and maybe some children and pets and everything else, you need some time to get yourself in order. And so the very first thing I want to talk about is creating space in the morning and in the evening, at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day. Having a space and protecting it I remember very, very young, my mom always worked, and she loved her early morning. She loved getting up before everyone else, and I really learned a lot from her on that. It was, I guess, a good pattern for me, and I think that first thing in the morning, you need to kind of get yourself in tune. I like the phrase, the second bullet here, about spiritually creating your day. We learn in the scriptures that the Lord created things spiritually before he created them physically, and we are the same. We have to create things in our mind and in our spirituality first, and then they become real with much less effort. Can you guys see this okay? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't see you anymore. I can only see the slides. So.
Okay. Sorry, I have myself muted most of the time, but I can hear you well.
Okay. Awesome. Another thing I like, and I promote a lot, is affirmations, and especially if there's something that you're trying to accomplish, I think it's important to write affirmations, or declarations, sometimes they're called. And those are positive statements, which are in the present tense, or you can even slip some into the past tense if you need to, as if you've already succeeded. And so, for instance, if I don't know, if you feel like you haven't been being paid enough, for instance, you might have an affirmation of, my work is valued, by everyone who hires me, or something like that, or my clients appreciate and value the work that I provide to them, or the products that I provide to them, or whatever it might be. And you can do personal ones, obviously. Those are the more garden variety. I am strong, I am inspired, things like that. Those are great messages to start the day, to kind of give yourself a pep talk. And if you work alone, talking to yourself can become quite natural. So anyway, the next point I wanted to make is just to know yourself. Know why you work. When you get distracted and you have, all these demands, all these people, really. I know there have been points where I would count up the number of people who were counting on me, especially when I was teaching, and it would be dozens of people who were emailing me or calling me, and needing my help or my information. Oh, okay. Cherie just texted me that she's on the other connection line. One sec.
Oh, that's right. Hopefully, if anyone else is there, she can.
There are two people.
Oh, okay. Maybe she can shepherd everyone else over here.
Okay, sorry, we'll continue. But, all right, so back to why. So basically, I think getting clear with yourself on why you work is a really important thing. And it doesn't have to be, I guess, culturally acceptable. I want to say that. I have had a hard time when I was younger, because I come from a convert family. My parents are first generation converts, and they joined the church when I was 3. And so I had a clash between my family of origin culture, which was women always work, women always have their own thing, and then coming into the Mormon culture, where all of my friends were not employed. They were full-time moms, and they did things and created social things during the day, that were based on that assumption that they had nothing, really to do during the day. And so I had to really think about why do I need to work? What is my, what's the drive here? And there are some really good quotes, and I wish I had them at my fingertips at the moment, but this has been going on for many generations, within and without the church. I mean, especially if you're a woman and you have children and you still have that drive to create, and you still have that drive to produce and to efficiently use, your skills and resources, and develop your skills and resources. I think that, I don't want to get on a feminist rant, but I mean, there are ways. I just want to say that. And that's the point of my giving this talk today. That's my motivation right here, is that I want the younger generation to know that I did this. Like, I did this. I worked during naps. I worked after the kids went to bed. I worked all night if I had to.
I made it.
And so it's okay. You will live. And your kids will be fine. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is how to make this happen, how to keep yourself thriving and alive inside and developing as a person, and have your family also thriving and alive and doing great. So, all right. So knowing your personality type is something I just love. I'm like, one of my pet topics is have you guys ever done any personality tests?
Yeah.
What types have you done?
I think I did the Myers-Briggs one. Is that the INFP? I forget the letters, but
yeah,
one of
that's
one.
right. I've taken so many, they're all kind of going together.
I know, I can't remember.
And the color code one. I think I've done that too. Those
I
are
love
the two
the color
ones.
code. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
So what color are you, Caroline? I'm dying to know.
You know what? I think I took it a while ago, and I thought I was mostly white with a little bit of blue and yellow, but I took it recently and I'm mostly blue. So maybe I was remembering wrong, or blue with white.
Yeah, people evolve. And you change, I think your energy kind of shifts a little bit as you get more mature and everything.
Yeah.
Anybody else? What are your personality types?
When I did the color code test, I was white. Very, very white.
I can see that. Yeah. You're very diplomatic. That's definitely you. Oh man, that's why I love working with you, because you're just so easy to work with. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, well, we'll move on. So another thing, I've already alluded to is what's your main mission or your calling? And at different times in your life, that's going to be different. When you are first starting your family, I think it's very normal for I'm talking about your work mission, obviously, if you decide to have children, obviously that's a mission, but your mission when you're a young mother is just to keep your skills alive, just keep that drip of work coming, amidst the every 2-hour feedings and everything else. So your main goal will just be to keep your skills alive and keep your brain from turning into oatmeal. And, that's enough. That's okay. You don't have to do it all at once. And in fact, this is what we're saying today is you can't do it all yourself. You have to figure out ways to get around that. So let's move on. Second one I want to talk about is emulate. And I've got some stuff written on here. I think it's really important to immerse ourselves in good examples and good information. We seek learning out of the best books. We seek to emulate outstanding examples of what we want to become. And, someone could argue maybe that we can learn from others' mistakes and things like that, and that's true. But when you have a choice, I think that you really need to seek to be surrounded and to be immersed in the best. And that means, being exposed to things. You have to know what people are doing and what people are saying and what they've done. Oops, my last line is cut off on the bottom of this. But the idea is, and the thing that has just floored me through my life is the things that I'm attracted to, the things that I love, just happen. Like they just come to me. And that, obviously you could put that anyway. You could say that I have faith, that good things are going to come, that I just go ahead and love that thing. And I know that eventually it'll be part of my life. But I think the general idea for me is like not everyone, I don't know, is like super able to make and stick to goals. And like, this is kind of a bit of a hack on goals. Because if you kind of immerse yourself in what you want, like if you want to be a great writer, you immerse yourself in great writers. If you want to be a great editor, same thing. You got to know good writing, but you also immerse yourself in the thoughts of great editors. And you see what editors have said and what editors have done and, the things they've accomplished. Have you guys had this experience before? Have you felt the benefit of studying or immersing yourself in the things that you want?
Yeah, I make it a point to try to attend a lot of writing conferences and workshops and, whatever I can do on the cheap so that I can be a better editor and try to network with other editors to absorb their goodness in their career and in general. I'd second what you say, definitely.
Yeah. And I think it's it shows. I mean, like, yeah, you've had some amazing opportunities because you've been in the right place at the right time, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
LDSPPA being one of them, actually.
Yeah, it's a good place to meet.
From knowing you, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, when you work together with people, that's really how you get to know them. I mean, obviously playing together or going on a vacation is a good way to get to know people, but how rare is that, you know? We spend so much more of our life working. And so if we can find ways to work with people, and volunteering is a great way to do that as well. Like, we're all, you know, more or less volunteering at least part of our time. And does anyone else have any comments on this? Okay.
Echo what Caroline said, like going to different conferences. LDSPPA is great networking.
I know. It's so fun. I mean, I just think about the people I've met, and, you know, I don't know. It's just been kind of amazing. I'm so grateful to Steve for starting our group, and it's just going to grow. So buckle up. So the next thing I want to talk about is isolating, which sounds like a negative word, but when you're working at home, you really have to create boundaries. And that means you need a space, you need at least a desk. If you can possibly have your own desk, that's optimal. And then sometimes that desk is not in a room with a door. You know, a great boundary is a door. But if you don't have a door, masking tape on the carpet is something that I'm not above using. To say to the kids, you can come this far and no farther. You know, you gotta stop when you get to the tape. This is my space, you know, where I do my work. And then time, you know, a boundary of time. And sometimes I remember, especially when my kids were little, you know, I would say, okay, you know, I've got a big deadline and I need you to sit down and watch this movie for, you know, and not come and talk to me for the whole movie. And if you do not bother me for your whole movie, then I will, whatever, I'll take you to McDonald's and I'll get you some chicken nuggets, or, you know, whatever the thing was that they were into at the time. But there always has to be a reward with kids. They will respond a lot better in the future if they know. I'm sorry to, it sounds a little bit manipulative, but when you've got a deadline and you can get it done for a box of chicken nuggets, it's you know, not a bad thing. So, and then of course the big thing is obeying them yourself. Distractions are just a massive, massive issue when you work at home. And if you have, you know, if it's in the years before your kids are in school, especially, there are going to be interruptions. And I hate to, you know, daycare, you know, is a thing. You know, if you work at home, you may need to do a part-time daycare, you know, for one or more of your children that are, you know, still preschoolers. When we lived in many, many places, wherever we lived, I pretty much found out really quickly where the good preschools were. And they were often at churches, like, you know, the Presbyterians or, you know, whatever church it was had a preschool as a fundraiser for their congregation, and they were generally affordable. So I think typically they want kids to be potty trained. So my kids were all potty trained by like 28 months at the latest, which is actually the optimal time cognitively for kids to be potty trained. So by 2.5, or, you know, definitely by 3, they were in preschool, and that was great for them too, because they got to go and be with other kids and be taught, and, you know, be able to have experiences also that they wouldn't have had, you know, if they were just with me all the time. I do recognize, though, there is a serious lack of preschools in many places, so that may not always be possible. And then My last son, I did have to put him in daycare. I was building a website, which it just took all my time for about 10 months. And I found a grandma who was only charging me $2 an hour. $2 an hour, $60 a week for her to watch him for 30 hours a week. And that was a godsend. She treated him like one of her own children. And that was a temporary thing to get through a really, really difficult job that I had to get done. And but other than that, I generally tried to just sacrifice, in different ways, or ask for my husband's help to create that space that we're talking about. So other things I have on here are about email. How many of you lose too much time to the email monster?
Yep.
Yeah, I do sometimes.
Yeah, it's easy to get sucked in, especially when you're getting a lot of promotional emails and all the sales and all the marketing coming at you. And
Yeah, that's true.
so it's important. I think it's like a Franklin Covey planner kind of a thing that they say not to check your email before 10 o'clock, or there's some different tactics like that I've heard of. Some people write back like 1-minute replies as much as possible, which I should really try to do, because I tend to spend way too much time on replies because I want to say everything as perfect as possible, and it just sometimes it'll take me an hour to write one email, and I just think, I've just got to let go a little bit, get it done faster.
I'm guilty of that too.
And then taking breaks is good, but setting a timer, do you guys use timers very much to
Sometimes.
Go ahead.
Oh no, that was it.
I haven't actually set an actual timer, but sometimes I look at the clock and say okay, I'm gonna take my break, and then at this time I'll start up again.
Good. Yeah. I got kind of extreme. I got a Fitbit, and on the Fitbit dashboard, you can set up to 10 alarms, and they're variable. Like you can pick whatever day, of the week. So you can have weekday alarms and weekend alarms. And anyway, so the alarms I really, really needed were lunch, stop, you idiot, and go eat lunch. Really would not eat lunch. Oh man. So yeah, I needed that. And then the other one, I would set an alarm at 5:15 to remind me to make dinner, because my husband gets home at 6:30, and so that would give me, by the time I finished up, I'd have almost an hour to I'd have an hour to make dinner and get it on the table, so that we wouldn't have hungry people staring at me longingly like, what are you doing? So the 5:15 alarm was really important, until I gave my Fitbit to my son. So now I don't have it, but so, all right. General idea here, create a space. You deserve space. You deserve boundaries. It is not mean. It is not, demanding or aggressive or anything else to say, I need my space. I need time, and I need physical space. That's okay. You need it. All right. So moving on. Next topic I have, we need to pick up the speed a little bit, but is automating. I really, really believe in automating. I like having kind of rituals. I have a set, series of tasks that I do in the morning. For instance, with basically every aspect of work, you can usually kind of find a hack, a way to create a routine, a way of doing things. It could be using checklists. If you're an editor, we've given those to students and recommended they use them, because it's a good way of getting into routines and eventually need your checklist anymore. It's part of who you are. But accounts receivable and accounts payable, I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. I am actually looking into, I haven't done it yet, but receiving payments online, and obviously paying bills online, any business expenses is a quicker way to take care of that. But anyway, just along that lines, I want to talk now about home. One of the ways we save a lot of time is by having all of our bills on auto payments, and then auto deposits also for all income coming in. So basically, we know exactly, what's going on, and they notify you by email what is coming out of your checking account or whatever. But it basically takes all the stress out of worrying about being late on a payment of any kind. So I highly, and then also saving, automatic saving has been huge. When your kids, I highly, highly recommend the UESP college savings program. They have great returns. They have very low fees, and you can invest, I think it's as low as like $10 a month. So if you start right out, when you have a baby, at $10 a month or whatever, $25 or $40 a month, whatever you can afford, it literally just automatically makes it so that your kids are going to be able to go to college. It's an insurance policy that's just priceless. No calamity, it's going to stop them from being able to have their education. So I love that. Maintenance, boy, we've struggled with that one because we're real DIY. Like my husband and I love fixing things ourselves, and we often do. But you have to really look at the opportunity cost of doing everything yourself. If you can hire someone to do a job, and basically, if it's a toss-up or if it's between what the opportunity cost of the work that you lose, if you have to step away from your paying work to do some kind of a home repair or something, then you have to look at the balance. Is it worth it, or should you just hire someone? And typically, there are many, many kinds of workers who are paid the same or less than what we might make doing editing or design or other work. So you have to look at that. And then also a huge thing, and I think comes with maturity, is just kind of simplifying. Is Janet still there? She could probably speak to this. She's experienced. But we need to focus our energy, focus our resources, focus our time. And that means that we don't kind of create home projects or situations. Really what I'm talking about also is clutter, like not bringing in, a whole bunch of stuff that has to be processed and has to be sorted and has to be kept clean and everything like that. If we can keep focused on the main resources that we need to run the house, and sometimes, money will just make that, happen anyway. You can't afford a lot of extra stuff. All right. Any comments on anything we've talked about so far on automating? Sorry, I feel like I'm talking a lot. And then family stuff. So like this is things are getting easier and easier to automate with your family. Even in Walmart now, you can order groceries online and you can have like a standing order that you just repeat. And the olden days, you would just make a printout, of a grocery list, with blanks, and you would check the things that you needed to buy this week or whatever, or put it in a polypropylene sleeve and use a dry erase marker or something like that, if you wanted to reuse it, things like that. But now, we've got Amazon Pantry, We've got, these grocery stores everywhere that will allow you to just make an order and literally just come and pick it up in a certain window of time. So you can automate your groceries pretty easily. With meals, we try to use Sunday as our meal planning day. And now that my kids are older, my kids are between 10 and 20 now. And I have 4, and they each have a day. So they cook Monday through Thursday, and I help. I mean, they're not chefs or anything. But man, it's been great. It's been great because then they think of an idea. They have a $20 budget for each dinner, which is for 6 to 7 people. We have someone who lives with us who often eats with us, which makes a 7th person. And, generally, between what we have and what they have to buy, that's entirely enough money for a nice big meal. And they like the planning, and they like having the money to spend. And so that's been one way that I've automated weeknight meals. And then Friday night is pizza night. That's our automated meal on Friday. And then Saturday, we often go out for lunch and eat leftovers for dinner. So, and then Sunday is the only day I cook, like the only day I have to come up with a meal. So that's just one way of doing it. Before you have kids, obviously, you just kind of plan and make spaghetti or tacos, and Have you guys done that? Have you tried out meal planning and in your families so far?
I've attempted it.
Oh.
My husband works from home, and I actually work full time. So he does all the cooking, which is amazing. But I definitely understand when there's some weeks where, we eat out like a few times. Because,
Oh yeah.
I just couldn't think of anything, or like the dishes are out of control, and I would have to tackle those before I could cook anything. All these things. I'm like, yeah, I totally get that. I'm just really glad that you are willing to cook for us, because I'm not really a big cook myself. Occasionally cook grilled cheese or something. But
Yeah.
it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Groceries thing.
I can't hear you very well.
Oh, sorry. Just saying that I think I'll tell my husband about automating groceries.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Because then too, like you can just set it up to whatever budget you have, and it's predictable.
Yeah.
Of course, maybe I haven't really investigated. You may have to have you may be able to have like different lists. Maybe you could have like a 4 different shopping lists that you rotate based on the meals, like 4 different weekly menus, or I'm really going to look at that, because I love the idea. Walking through a store is really, to me, it's just it's a huge risk that I'm going to waste a lot of time and a lot of money because I have a hard time, if I see something that's a good deal, whether we need it or not, it's hard to resist it. And then I also overanalyze everything. So it's just better to just try to keep it, simple and straightforward. So anyway, we need to get going because we're already only 10 minutes left, but sorry. I'm just having a good old chat. I just want to talk about dress code. I'm sure you guys have heard of the famous Steve Jobs dress code. He would wear jeans and a black mock turtleneck every day. And that is the quintessential dress code automation, wearing a uniform. Other people I've heard of, this woman bought 12 white silk blouses and 12 different either skirts or black skirts or pants, and she would just wear black and white, always black and white. And so there are ways of kind of figuring out clothes too, because think about that. How much time do you spend looking at your clothes and trying to think of some creative arrangement to wear? And then saying, I have nothing to wear. But yeah, so, we don't want to look too, I don't know. That's pretty extreme, a dress code, but I think one thing I have done in the past, like on a weekend, on a Sunday, if I have an hour, I'll make outfits. I'll just put, like a pair of pants and a shirt and then a sweater and a belt and put it on one hanger and just have it ready to go, so that if I'm in a hurry the next day, I've got something ready to just throw on without thinking. So there are lots of ideas. And the other thing is coordinated closet, getting a slimmed down, like 30 to 40 item closet of all items that color coordinate and work together, so that you never have to kind of jump, between the blacks and the browns and the blues, and, try to span those. So, all right, I'm going to keep going. So one thing we want to talk about is efficiency here. This is a quote from Bill Gates. If we're going to use automation, we need to apply it to an efficient operation. We don't want to automate something that's inefficient, like, I don't know, a candle of the month club, or, things like that. We want to make sure the things we automate are actually things we need. So. Alrighty then. Next one, integrating. So I call this compound activities, and this has been a big factor. It's kind of an idea, and it's really hard to encapsulate it in one little circle here. But the idea is bringing together seemingly unrelated activities or goals into one activity. So I kind of tried to put this in more vague terms. With work, a way to integrate and add value is to like take something that you already do and then combine it with something new, to create something, that like is very rare, that people haven't heard of before, or that they don't know anyone else who's able to do that. I'm not kind of probably communicating super great on this, but like, for instance, if you're an editor, that is a very portable skill. You could put it together with some skills in social media, or, social media marketing, or like I've been studying and learning so much about email campaigns lately, and about how to automate email campaigns. So when someone signs up for something, it's a trigger, and that triggers a whole series of like 5 to 10 follow-up emails, for instance, in MailChimp. Anyway, so I've been learning about that, and I'm starting to set up processes and integrate. So it's actually using a lot of different skills. And so I'm finding different ways to apply those skills. And so just in general, like on a family level, because we're kind of out of time, like I talk about mixing and matching activities. And so what I mean by that is multiple benefits, so that the time is compounded. So that, say you go for a walk with your kids, so that all at once is time together. It's a physical activity that will help them be healthier. Along the way, you could teach them about the things that you're seeing, like teach them the names of trees, or whatever. And then you could take like a store sack, and you could pick up trash. If you see any trash, that would be a service. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It kind of becomes a game. It's kind of fun to look for ways to maximize time is basically the goal. And sometimes, the best way to maximize the time is that everybody needs to unwind, sometimes, maybe one of your children is like an aspiring science fiction author, and, watching, movies with that child is a way of helping them prepare, because then you can talk to them, about the plot and about the characters. And, so there are different ways, and depending on the goal, you just mix and match differently. Do you guys have any thoughts or ideas on that? Have you had any experiences doing this?
Not so much on the family side, but like on the work side, because I work for like the College of Nursing, but I do some editing for them, and like along the way, like some of the students figured out that I could do editing, and so I've started doing like freelance editing of their dissertations.
Whoa.
And so it's just like having like those kind of skills and applying them in different areas has been really helpful.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And it's a service, like, it earns money, and it's a way of serving people who are not currently, receiving that service. It's efficient, like, because, it helps them. Well, it's more on their end, but, but it's also efficient for you. You get to know them and what they do better, which might help you do your day job better, and, on and on. So anyway, that's just an idea that I kind of use to, when I do have time with my family, or, when I'm working, the separate isolated times, like I try to really make the time. One thing I love to do is listen to TED Talks while I'm typesetting, because it's just, not really mentally that challenging. It's just repetitive and detail oriented, but I can totally subconsciously pick up a message from a TED Talk or from an audiobook or from a podcast while I'm working, rather than listening to music. When I edit, I listen to Mozart, because I really find that Mozart helps me to process. I don't know. I just have, my whole life I've listened to Mozart while I work. So not every time, you know what I'm saying? But it helps.
I like to listen to audiobooks if I'm doing a more mindless task at work, or if I'm just doing the dishes, or even sometimes taking a shower, because that's important to me for like enjoyment, but also to help me read, make sure I'm reading, even though I don't have a lot of time to sit down and read a physical book. Audiobooks are great for my career and mental health.
Yeah. I mean, another thing, is that comes to mind is just keeping in contact with extended family. If you are driving, or if you're, just always look for a way to use the time. I hardly listen to the radio, because I'll call someone even if I'm just driving, like for 10 or 15 minutes, I'll just call someone and say, hey, I wanted to check on you, just to try to, I don't know. I just don't like wasting time. So, which, I don't know. Anyway, it's kind of a bit of a fault. All right. So let's move on. So, I was supposed to focus. Sorry. I was delegating. And, the big thing about delegating is you have to adjust your expectations and prioritize the things that you have to do, because there are a lot of things that you don't have to do. And one of those things that I do not have to do is iron. This is a new thing. I do not have to iron. I can take things down to the laundry, and it's like $1.60 a shirt to have them washed and pressed and looking perfect when they come back, and that is something that I have let go of, with a higher, product at the end. Even sometimes you have to, like, if you're relying on, a 10-year-old to unload the dishwasher, which I often do, you have to adjust the expectation that you may not be able to find everything. Put things where they don't go, and that's just part of letting go. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to be done. And so that's something that has to happen when you delegate. Developing allies and resources, and I kind of lump that together, but people, technologies, using resources in your house, even things that you have, you're surrounded by resources. It's kind of amazing, some of the things we take for granted, that might and could help us, if we really recognize what they are. Apps are a good example of that. Another thing, and this is important, is you have to invest some time when you delegate to teach kids, or to teach an intern, or to teach a new personal assistant, how you like things to be done, or how things need to be done. I had some great stories on that, but we don't have time. But generally, just be willing to teach, be willing to let them do their best and follow up. And if they haven't done it the way that you explained it, hold them to it, like make them do it again, or, ask them to do it again. It sounds better. But generally, I like to give general goals and let the person decide how to best do it, because often even kids or students, I've many times been so happily surprised to find out that the person I'm delegating to knew a better way to do it than I knew. And that's just a wonderful thing. I've got a great quote down here we're going to read in just a second. Same with kids, but as I talked about, delegate some childcare. If I used to trade babysitting. Was another thing. I'd find another mom who needed, a 4-hour block a week, and we'd trade some daycare or, some childcare. Volunteering, I just want to talk about that. When Liz Wiseman came and gave I don't know if it was a forum or a devotional last year, one of the main things I remembered is she said, in working full time and having a high profile career, she just decided that she couldn't do, she could do her work, her family, and her church calling, and that's it. And so I wholeheartedly agree on that one, because we have big hearts and we think we can do everything. But if you're signing up to be a room mother and everything else and a scout leader or whatever it is, it can just send you scattering in lots of directions. So I delegate volunteering by giving them money. So if I can't be the room mother, I'll give the teacher, $100 to buy supplies, or, I find other ways to help that don't take so much of my energy and time. So it might sound a little callous, but it's just, you have to be realistic. You can't do everything. So room stewardships, sorry, I'm really going to go faster. My kids all have a room in our house that they are responsible for. And so that it's kind of like having a night to cook, but the living room, it's someone's job to keep it clean. And if it isn't clean, then I call them and say, the living room is not clean. They split kitchen and laundry jobs. So the 10-year-old unloads, the 16-year-old loads, and the 18-year-old washes pots and pans. So they have their job in the kitchen that they do pretty much every day. I'm not going to say every day, and then you follow up. So, okay, let's go down to, I just love this quote. You have to delegate. You can't do everything. And then the Stephen Covey quote, people and organizations don't grow much without delegation and completed staff work, because they are confined to the capacities of the boss and reflect both personal strengths and weaknesses. So I'm a big proponent of having independent, self-reliant kids. Literally, I stopped doing my kids' laundry when they're 10. They just need to know how to do it. It enables them to be independent individuals. And for instance, that's one example. So, all right, let's move on. We're going to just be almost done here. So innovate is second to last thing. I wanted to just mention Bill Gates has an annual Think Week, he calls it, and he sets aside a week a year to just read and think and come up with new ideas and set new goals and things like that. I love that idea. I love brainstorming, if there's a problem, really looking at the problem from all the different angles that you can. Looking to adapt, retool, and retrain. Sometimes you have to learn new things to be able to move forward. Embracing evolving technologies is big. I've seen, and maybe have you guys seen this, your parents or your grandparents? Some of them adapt new technologies and some don't.
Yes.
Yep.
Definitely.
What are some of your observations about the people who do or don't evolve in the technologies they use?
I'm just usually why don't you just do it this way? It would save you 10 times, you could get it done 10 times faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I say it nicely.
Yeah, there's some blockages, people are afraid, I think, of trying new things, or they think they're too old, I've had some really surprising ones. So like 80-year-olds in my family who, get an iPad and start using it every day, or it can happen. You're never too old. And I know you guys are still really great at embracing new technologies, but it's just important to keep, by the time you're, my age or older, like just imagine what the technologies are going to be like, it's, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about.
So you just have to kind of, I don't know, just stay with the times. And
yeah.
Another thing is just to be open to feedback, not take it too personally. That can be hard when you love what you do and, you think, you're doing your very, very best. Sometimes it's hard to hear that, there are deficiencies, and we all have them. We all, and it's part of being a generalist. We try to specialize and have specific skills, but ultimately, especially, I hate to be just sexist, or whatever, reverse sexist, but like when you have children and a house and, a lot of people to take care of, and then throw work into that mix too. You're a generalist. You can't, be perfect at everything because you have too many, spinning plates you're trying to keep up in the air. So that's okay. Just do your best and just try to improve every day in some way. Give feedback, praise, and prizes. That's like a really big one. I can't say enough. Like if you show gratitude for people, they play nicely. It's kind of, I know it sounds a little bit manipulative, but think about it. You like feedback, praise, and prizes too. So I've definitely had good. I just want to throw in one more thing. Sorry, but like I start giving my kids money for grades in 7th grade. They get $10 for an A and $5 for an A minus, and nothing below that. And my kids all have, high GPAs because I train them from 12 on to the only prize you get, is if it's an A or an A minus. So they're consistently, definitely in the A minus, like 3.9 is kind of where they tend to, that's their lowest GPA that they get. So, and then taking all of your jobs seriously is like another aspect. Being a mom, being a parent, being the steward over a house is a job. And, we need to treat it like that and be serious in the way we are responsible about it. Last thing on the list here is celebrate. So have you guys heard of a to-do list?
No. I like it though.
I love a to-do list because at the end of the day, typically, you started out your day with like 7 things on it and you did 3 of them, but you did like 8 other things that weren't on a list, So you write down, the thing that came up, that somebody needed this form or that sports physical or whatever. And you write down the things that you did do and just think, wow, I really did a lot today, even though I didn't do the things I had on my list. Tomorrow's another day. Tomorrow I'll get the other 4, plus, another 8 that I don't anticipate right now, and just kind of roll with that. So, and then just kind of just to conclude, there's in us, a cycle of giving and receiving, and we can get blocked, one way or another, like, but generally as women, we tend to like, I'm saying women, but I'm sure men will hopefully listen to this too. But as people, when we give and give and give, especially if we provide services for our work, and we give services, as service, and we give service in our family. We're just giving, giving, giving all the time. And you really have to allow yourself some chances to receive and to have some rewards in order to keep giving. And that's just a normal balance of things. And it's okay. I guess I just want to give you all permission. You can have nice things.
Treat yourself.
Do it. Yes. You can have, you can have a reward. You can have, whatever it is that you feel like you need. Obviously you don't want to violate your goals too much and eat an entire Maggleby's chocolate cake or, something, damaging, but it's important to have something to look forward to. Whatever that might be. Maybe you're saving up for a vacation, and so you can kind of, in those, moments when you feel tired or, when you've been editing so long, your eyes feel like they're going to just fall out. You can think about that trip to Italy. You can think about, whatever it was or is that you're going to do. So, thank you so much. Do you guys have any questions or comments?
Just thought this has been really great. It's given me a lot to think about.
Cool. I'm always here for you guys. Seriously. So I just am so proud of you. I think you guys have a very bright future, and I just love all of the ways that working at home has, made it possible, for moms and for parents in general, just to be able to have the best of both worlds. If you think about it, it's like in the history of the world, it's really only the last, 150 years maybe since the Industrial Revolution. Previous to that, husbands and wives, generally worked at home together on a farm or whatever. And there was that work-life balance was just absolutely a part of everybody's life, So what we're really doing is kind of returning to the natural state of things, of having our work at home. And I think it's a huge blessing. So thank you again for everyone for being on the call.
Yeah, it's really great.
Thank you. You guys have a good Saturday.
Thanks, you too. I'm sure this will be a great resource for anyone who listens to it after this or watches it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sounds good. All right, have a great day.
Thanks. Bye, Erin. Bye, Cherie.